So this leads me to another question, which is like from your description, it seems that, you know, when you're past 21, basically you're out in a context which is, you know, fastly changing, et cetera, so you should naturally get out of your, you know, beliefs, decision making.
You should do, but most people don't.
Exactly. How come?
Well, because this okay, so now it gets a little more complicated. So during these first 3 stages of development, we learn to satisfy our survival needs, our safety needs, and our security needs. And so when we do that within a framework of existence, within a cultural framework of existence, within a familial or parents framework of existence. And so when we get trying to get our needs met, we're usually negotiating with other people. So we're within this context, and the ego learns how to get its needs met within that cultural and parental framework of existence. Now, that framework is probably only relevant for the first 20 years of your life, because then you're out into the world on your own, and you need you shouldn't be making decisions based on beliefs which are all about getting, which were manufactured, if you like, when you were trying to get your parents keep in line with your parents and keep in line with your culture. So now you're free to make decisions, whatever decisions you want, and this is called individuation. Carl Jung talked about this individuation, where you become free of all of these constructs which belong to the context of your life. You become free of those, and so now you can become fully who you are. You don't have to live the life based on the beliefs of the culture and your parents, and of course religion plays a big part in that. So you can become free of all of that programming. And that's when values become really important, because now I'm letting go of all of my beliefs that I learned, my ego learned, and now I'm like, oh, I can do things differently. I don't have to do them the same way. And so now you begin to challenge authority. Now, if you live in an authoritarian regime, that could be difficult. And so you will not have this individuation. Most people don't individuation. For most of our leaders, world leaders, have never individuated. Donald Trump never individuated. Boris Johnson just got fired. He never individuated. Putin never individuated. They're still trying to get their unmet needs from their childhood met through the beliefs they learned. And and then millions and billions of people all over the world live in conditions where they live in regimes like North Korea or China, where they are not free to live, to speak up, to speak out. They don't live in democracies. So they're denied individuation. And so they just continue working with beliefs. And if they want to move into values-based decision-making, if they want to individuate, they have to be able to speak their mind, and chances are they'll just get locked up and put in prison, because the regime can't take that on board. So it's a vital point in your life when you get to your 20s and 30s to individuate, become who you really are, and to live your life according to your own values. And if you don't, you will get depressed and you will get stressed, etc., etc. So yeah, it's fundamentally important to individuate and then self-actualize afterwards.
But this makes me think of a question that is, you know, getting back to the first question that I asked you. So it seems to me from what you say that, you know, making a values-driven organization, if the leader is not deciding it through values, is impossible.
Well, it becomes authoritarian regime. It's like, do this, do it my way or the highway, basically. And that's how many organizations operate. They don't want people to have a sense of freedom. And when they have a sense of freedom, they can take initiative. They can be innovative. You want in an organization, you want your staff to feel they are free to innovate and free to take initiatives, And if you live in an authoritarian regime where people are not allowed to individuate, then they will get depressed and they will leave, because it's like working in a working. I was going to say working in a factory, you know, but it's basically the same thing. You know, you're told what to do and you're not allowed to do anything else. And if you break the rules, you're out. You know, that's.
So are you de facto saying that, you know, organizations are in fact authoritarian regimes in most cases?
Most cases have been for, not for always, basically. And it's been the exception, where you have a leader who's individuated, who then says, oh, well, you know, I've found my freedom to think and be who I am. Let's give that gift to the employees too, so that we can actually have an organization that is more innovative and more, and where people can find meaning and purpose in their lives, where they're free to live according to their values. And that's the idea of doing a values assessment. If you know what the personal values of the people in the organization are, then you want those values to come through into the current culture of the organization, so that people feel, aha, I'm in alignment with my organization, because they operate on the same set of values that I do.
So which means that basically creating a values-driven organization is equivalent to say that you are actually allowing the system organization to do an individuation process.
Yes, that's why I called my first book, my second book actually, Liberating the Corporate Soul. I wrote it 20 odd years ago. Liberating the Corporate Soul was about giving people this freedom to live a life in alignment with who they are, so they could not just individuate, but they could self-express, and in other words, bring all of their creative energy into the workplace. Because if you don't have that freedom, well, you can't.
So what is your recommendation? I think you came across this many times. I personally did as well. So you have leaders that actually are very much rationally willing to go in that direction. Actually, I would say honestly, most of them are sincerely willing to go in a place of engagement, of people where they're attached and connected to a purpose, and so on and so on. But despite the words, not only because of them, but also because of the context in which they live, which is very much, you know, short-term results, reaching performance quickly, and so on and so on, they operate at a level which is absolutely not of a values level, but it's more of a performance profitability. So what would be your advice? Because otherwise it's, you know, it's a dog eating its own tail.